Alright, so I've been getting a ton of people messaging me to look over this T-app situation, plus this quote-unquote hack and data leak thing. I've never heard of this app until about a day or two ago, so let me give everyone a quick overview of the app and its history first. The app was created by Sean Cook, and as he puts it on his site's About Us page, it was born from a personal mission. Apparently, Sean's mom was trying out online dating and was either getting catfished or was engaging with various men who had criminal records. Sean from this experience thought most traditional dating apps were doing little to protect women, so he decided to build and release his own app in 2023 called T. T was supposed to be a safe women's only app to help with dating. Since it was supposed to be a women's only app, that meant they had to have a verification process in place to confirm if the user joining was actually a woman. As part of the verification process, the users would have to upload an image of themselves. This could be a selfie, but in some cases they decided to upload IDs, and in some very extreme cases they decided to upload their government ID cards. Yes, some women uploaded their military IDs that held enough info to allegedly figure out the address for undisclosed government sites. There's probably going to be at least some women who are going to for sure get fired over that blunder. Anyways, once they were verified, their verification images were supposed to be deleted and they could begin using the app and purchasing its various in-app services. Since this was a women's safety app, a lot of the in-app purchases, services, and features revolved around stuff like doing reverse image searches on men's photos, ordering different background check bundles T was offering, using the app's offender search list and features, using the T phone number lookup service and data gathering, and buying some criminal record search packages too. There was also a social media aspect as well to the app, where women could post photos of men and ask the user base at large for advice and try to gather information about the man in question too. The app also had a green flag, red flag system, where the idea was women, if they knew the man, could help verify if he was a good or bad guy. Now, while all of this might sound okayish on paper, people will be people, and lots of women were using this app to anonymously spill tea and gossip about various men. Naturally, a lot of men took issue with the app basically allowing women to anonymously rate random men, post and share unverified personal info about them, and add defamatory or false accusation as comments, not to mention being able to violate men's privacy without any real recourse available for the men affected. Some users of the app argued back that the T-app did have a contact us email address affected parties could reach out to and have their info removed if it was false. But since the app was anonymous and prevented screenshots and blocked men from registering, it's hard to think men would be able to find out they were on the app and what kind of false information about them could possibly be on it. Meaning it would be incredibly hard for a guy posted on the app to request for any false info to be removed if they weren't even aware it existed in the first place. And this doesn't even consider the issue of how long the false info was causing damage and issues for them. Now, while a lot of people had issues with the app, it didn't have any crazy scandals or coverage until fairly recently. Just shortly after July 22nd of 2025, when it hit first place in the Apple App Store, it was discovered and seemingly first reported on 4chan that the T-app had a public Firebase bucket. What this means is people were able to scrape all sorts of T-app files and share them easily with the public. In this statement given by T about the incident, T reported that about 72,000 images were leaked online, including 13,000 selfies or photo identifications, and another 59,000 images that were publicly viewable in the app from the posts, comments, and direct messages. With that context out of the way, let's actually start diving into the supposed hack origin, hack script, and data trove that's been compiled. First of all, this wasn't a hack. A hack is the act of getting unauthorized access to data in a restricted system. The T data that was being extracted and pulled was all publicly accessible if you just knew the T Firebase URL. If we look at the 4chan post where all of this started from, we can once again see there was a public Firebase bucket. Now, let me explain what a bucket is. In cloud computing, a bucket is a term for the place you'll upload your files to. For example, you'll generally have a few buckets for different things. In a simple app, you might be fine with just two buckets. A public one for files and info anyone should be able to see and view, and a private one that will hold sensitive and user-restricted files. Think about files that you would share in a private chat, for example. Only the two users in the chat should be able to see those files. Now, by default, all the major cloud providers and sites where buckets can be created, including Firebase itself, will by default have buckets created as private or in the lockdown mode, meaning in order to access or upload data to the bucket or to interact with it, you'll need to have a way to verify your access rights to the bucket first. To help drive this point further, if you try to make a bucket public, most sites will warn you that you run the risk of exposing data you might not want to. Well, the T-app development team didn't seem to mind or want to do things the right way and decided to set their bucket to public, meaning anyone with a URL to the bucket could access anything in it as long as they knew the right URL path for the files in question. This hack was basically at the same level of opening up a random subreddit and just downloading every single file you saw in the feed. Plus, if we look at the supposed hack script that was posted onto Pastebin, we can see there isn't any hacking going on. All this Python script is doing is going through the public Firebase file URLs one by one, and if it manages to find a valid not already downloaded file, it'll just download it and continue going. Through this process, around 72,000 files were managed to be found so far. So again, the security of the T-app wasn't breached or hacked. The security for the T-app never existed in the first place. With how badly this app architecture was set up, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if all the accusations floating around that this was a vibe-coded app turned out to be true. Anyways, from the T statement, it seems like all of this was data before February 2024, though given all the additional eyes and scrutiny on the app, this isn't exactly comforting news to anyone impacted. It's also pretty suspect the company was holding on to their users' selfies and licensed images from more than a year and a half ago, since in their own app, it clearly states that after they verify you, the selfie images should be deleted. According to T, after 2024, they did create some new system where they were migrating all of their data to, but they never moved all this old data to it. On their Instagram, they have a slightly different message and story, where they claim the data was being kept in an archive system due to legal reasons. Again, this is a bit suspect. Generally, most sites that keep records will keep them from anywhere from 6 months to 2 years at the absolute maximum. Considering the T app isn't some major or important app, it was probably due to general incompetence and bad security measures that they had so much data hanging straight out in the open for this entire time period. I also hope this gives everyone listening a small lesson in being more cautious uploading personal information or images of yourself to brand new sites or apps, especially if the content or behavior on the app are a big source of controversy. Now, let's go back to the data leak portion. Also, as I discuss this, keep in mind that the data leak has only been posted about 2 days before this video has gone up, so the damage and the true fallout of this leak probably isn't going to be known for at least a few more weeks to maybe even a few more months. Anyways, there are already multiple torrents floating around with all sorts of data compiled together. The main torrent with everything included seems to be just shy of 60 gigabytes in size. There's another smaller torrent around 18 gigabytes that seems to just be the women's selfies and verification photos. There's also another 220 gigabyte torrent floating around, but from what I can find, the torrent is the same as the current 60 gigabyte main torrent, just with lots and lots of extra padding files driving the size of it to a crazy amount. If we look at the torrent metadata and folders, we can see the files from various parts of the T app have been found and taken. General files uploaded to the app, like files posted in private chats, files attached to comments, post images, and naturally the women's personal photos. Let's start with what's currently being done with the women's images. Currently, a lot of people are just clowning on the appearance of many of these women on various social media sites. In fact, one person has gone and made a ranking leaderboard to reverse judge all the women who had their photos leaked. If we look at the site T-Spill, the main homepage is basically just selecting which person you find more attractive. I'm not going to show any faces because doxing is wrong, and YouTube actually has rules and tries to protect people's privacy, unlike the T app. Anyways, there's also a leaderboard showing the top 50 best and top 50 worst rankers on the site currently. When I checked the top 50 list, the top 5 slots were the following in reverse order. In 5th place, we have a picture of the right side of a keyboard. Moving on to 4th place, we have what seems to be the rest of the keyboard setup. Now in 3rd place, with the bronze medal, we have a black square. In 2nd place, with the silver medal, we have a picture of a computer mouse. And finally, in 1st place, taking home the gold T-Spill medal, we have, drumroll please, the great, the mighty, the undisputed champion of the T leaderboard, Dr. Pepper. So as you can see, no one really cares about the rankings and everyone is trolling and messing around on this site. Now to more serious cases, with how many licenses were available in the leak and how many selfies were uploaded with the image metadata still included, it seems like some users have been going through and pulling out the names and exact locations of the users in question and plotting it on a viewable Google map called Roasties. Now, the map isn't everyone in the leak. Google Maps has a 20,000 pin limit, so we can probably expect at least 2 or 3 more maps to be created over the next few days that will include the rest of the women from the leak. Also, some people have started doing reverse image searches on these women's images as well, meaning there might be significantly more data posted and leaked on these T users in the not so distant future as well. Not to mention possible legal trouble for them as well if users affected by their comments or posts decide to try taking legal action against them. Now, while we've mainly been talking about the women affected, if we look back at the torrent and the attachments, a lot of men's images were also included in there as well, meaning even some men that were posted on the app could be seeing some of their personal info dug into and posted about as well. And last but not least, we can look at the chats, comments, and post folders from the torrent. Within these folders, there were all kind of images, things such as screenshots of personal convos, phone numbers, houses and apartments, and who knows what else. Since the leak is so new, everything hasn't been fully explored and combed through yet. We've only just seen the beginnings of the damage this leak is going to cause, and we likely won't see the full extent for a few more weeks to months. Given how badly the T app has handled this situation, it's no surprise users are fleeing the app as fast as they can, with many of the users even suggesting they'll be trying to take legal action against T for not properly safeguarding their information and files. But with all this new stuff aside, I'm personally wondering if we're going to potentially see an even greater T data leak soon. I strongly doubt the 4chan user that originally broke the floodgates open was the first person to find this public Firebase bucket. There are many tools that automatically search for public exposed buckets on the internet, plus hackers will spend extra time targeting apps they know have lots of valuable PPI data and have a significant user base in first world countries. Given that the T app is nearly all US-based users, with a large portion posting their IDs or military IDs, I think there's a strong possibility that other groups have been aware of this this app and leak source for a longer period of time. And since once hackers manage to find a way into their target systems, or they find an open funnel to collect information, they won't be reporting or sharing any of it publicly, and they'll just quietly lurk and stay under wraps, collecting as much information as they possibly can. Given that the T-bucket was simply public, I wouldn't be surprised if there are hacking groups right now that are sitting on close to 2 years worth of T data. Given that within one day, T itself had to revise its statement from originally being data before 2023 was taken to data before February 2024 was taken, I think there's a possibility much more data was gotten and has yet to be leaked. Anyways, that's all that T I have to share for now. Like, subscribe, and see you all when the next batch drops.